Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the show. This here today is The Ascending Man. I'm going to be talking about the very interesting idea of AI and something that I found that was very kind of alarming, but at the same time interesting. It's called Q Star, and it was confirmed that the AI robots that Sam Altman and OpenAI was working on have actually done a model of Q star proportions. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get into this, eh? So, Q star. Now, number one, Q star is the state of Q learning, which is simply, state action plus action equals Q value. Ultimately speaking, that is just simply saying, hey, you want to do something, you've learned a thing, and now your value from what you've learned is going to be this. And so therefore move forward in fill in the blank, whatever it is. That's kind of how AI works in general. So Q star, though, that's extra star is what you may call the consciousness, or maybe better put, creativity of the actual motives, right, of the robot itself. I mean, one of the things that these AI robots have, or they've been teaching the AI robots, and one of the things that they've been trying to kind of trying to squeeze out of them is the ability to consciously be able to make decisions themselves. Because as of right now, it's just algorithmic learning. And yeah, the normal way that it goes is simply reinforcement machine learning, aka like reward discipline. If the machine just tries to learn itself, hey, is this the right thing? Is this the right thing? Is this the right thing? Based on what you told me you're supposed to be doing, and then the humans, either rewards or disciplines, which is, give it, say yes, you did it, good job, or just say no, you did it incorrect. That's ultimately what that is. So here's an interesting little tidbit. Ultimately, if we were to like put this in a sense, I'll actually use a live example of what ended up happening, where they didn't quite hit the Q star, but they got decently close because of move 37 in a game called AlphaGo. Now, AlphaGo is an old Chinese game. I believe it, if I remember correctly, it was like 2,000, 5,000 years old. And it's one of the most complicated games out there. It actually beats out chess as far as complications go. The entire idea of the game is to one person has like little white tabs, another one has black tabs, and whoever can control the most land or the most colors on the board wins. The amount of moves you could calculate outmatches, like there's more moves to this game than there are atoms in the universe. Let's just say it's basically infinite. The number is so insane that you're better off just not thinking about it, because that is a lot of zeros. So that being said, here's a way to look at what Q learning is, or what I should actually say, what AI learning is versus Q value learning versus Q star learning. So in AlphaGo, they had an AI learn from, or I should call it machine learning, but whatever. They had an AI learn from the best players, AlphaGo players in the world, and just sat there and watched hours and hours and hours worth of what the best players did, all their moves. And then it just started mimicking what the best players did, all their moves and all that. And it took them, I believe it took the machine 37 tries to actually beat the best player in the world. So, yeah, no, it's pretty good. It's pretty good, right? I mean, only 37 tries to kind of learn, okay, maybe I should do this move instead. Sweet. Now, when they started adding the Q value, and it was getting smarter and smarter, and in fact, they had the way that they had it was, instead of the machine, and this was a new one, by the way, instead of having the machine itself, the AI, learning from humans doing it, they had it play against another AI unit of, equal caliber, and they just kind of played together. They had no idea. All they were told was the rules of the game. Go play it. And it learned to start doing some really odd things, really odd moves. But these moves were still valid. It's just no human had ever really thought about doing that type of strategy, quite frankly. So, when it actually started playing against humans, it couldn't be beat. The humans just couldn't figure it out. And it was making moves that people were like, "What is this move? What is this?" It's like watching your favorite Twitch streamer who's like number one in the world of a certain game, and he's just always been number one. And you're just like, yeah, he's gonna do this move, that move is possible there, and then some random thing happens. The computer, this AI, does this really weird move, and the player's like, what? And, that's basically what ended up happening. It's called Move 37, and Move 37 was the one that really stood out to people because scientists were looking at this Move 37 and they're like, hey, we've almost hit the Q star. But I'll get back to that one. So, and with it moving around, right, you need to think about it this way. It's almost creative, but not quite, right? Because what it's trying to do is it's calculating the best way to simply win the game. And it's kind of like, it's trying to draw a line from point A to point B, quite frankly. What's the fastest way to get there? What's the best way to get there type of deal. And that's very sound mechanical learning, mechanical logic. Yeah, makes sense, right? Made it sound more complicated than it is. However, that Move 37 that I mentioned, right? This is close to Q star because actual creativity. Now you can call that creativity from it going from point A to point B, and it's learning how to do that on its own. But if you think about it, right, the actual creativity is going to be, when does it start playing against the human, thinking about, or even against another AI, thinking about what is the move that human or AI is going to make, and then how do I counter that? This is when you start getting the consciousness levels, like like it's a creature, not an actual machine, because it's starting to think outside of itself. It's starting to think outside of what it was tasked to do. And ultimately, yes, it was tasked to win, but it's also thinking, well, enable for me to win, I'm going to have to think, what is the other one thinking? And am I going to, aka like future sight, right? Am I going to need to put in like a counter move, right? There's a different thought process there completely. And machines don't do that as of currently. However, Q-Star was confirmed. They ran a lot of different tests. They've been running a lot of different tests. And I'm not going to bore you guys with the mathematics of it because I would have to write it all down for you and read off a freaking script. It's quite involved. So I'll shorten it up for you because that is not the brain I've got. I got more of an out here type of brain, ideas wise, not like hard mathematics. But the idea was basically this: what they wanted the AI to do was they wanted the AI to, again, think outside the box. And if I'm remembering correctly, the example they were giving was they were telling the AI that they need to run from point A to point B, and to avoid certain steps along the way. But then there was like a person there that would be running with them, right? And that person would be another object. And so what ended up happening was the AI was thinking, okay, well, I could just do this and it'd be the fastest possible way, or I can cut right through here. But what they didn't think about is the cutting through part was the out of the box one, because they said stay in the path. And then so it was like trying to find the fastest way there. But as soon as it starts saying, well, how come I can't cut through this certain pathway and get there faster and completely avoid Susie and all these other things? That's when they were like, oh my gosh, it's happening. It's starting to think outside the box. Like, how come I can't get past this barrier that you guys are putting up for me? And it's questioning it. So this right here, when it did that, it caused such an upstir in OpenAI that the board was thinking, oh, whoa, we need to study this more, and we need to kind of perfect it and see if we can't happen to like control it, because this is how an AI is going to get out of control real quickly when it starts thinking for itself and starts saying, hey, you put up a barrier, how come I can't go around the barrier? So um Sam Altman was just like, I don't care. We're gonna put it out there. We're gonna put it in the GPT-5. Just do it. And the board was like, no, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. That is way too dangerous, and that's what caused that whole thing. However, Sam's leadership is so good that they legitimately, like, all the staff and everything demanded that he come back. Otherwise, they were all quitting and going over to Google, which is their main competitor. Absolutely wild. I'm not even gonna lie. But this brings up a lot of questions, right? Now that we know that AIs can start thinking outside the box, and we have people like Sam Altman who's like, hey, put it out there. One of like there's been a few rules to AI that unfortunately scientists have now broken. One of them was don't put them on the internet. They're on the internet now. Don't have machines teaching other machines. And the third one is escaping me as of currently. But you get the idea, right? There's a lot of things that unfortunately have all been broken now, and well, we're kind of moving forward now at a very, very, very quick pace. This is absolutely ridiculous just how quick this pace is going. And it's getting kind of scary because they've just confirmed that a robot, an AI, machine learning, has decided to think outside the box and start thinking like, a creature or like a conscious being would think. Oh, I mean, if you want me to go past here, it's technically better. It's just you put up a barrier. Huh. Okay. I mean, I think we're going to be seeing kind of an exponential growth in intelligence. And unfortunately, the intelligence is not going to be human. If you look at just Chat GPT right now, the intelligence, and these are like the dumber AIs. The intelligence level is the equivalent of 150 IQ human. That's pretty good. So how, like, when they start teaching each other, how long is it going to be until these 150 IQ robots become 1,000 IQ? There's a new problem with that one as well. As of currently, one of the issues that we're running into right now with trying to teach AIs is that if you took all of the data that we have ever written down on like books or like on the internet and all that, and then you were able to collapse it into a nice little data point where AIs could just go through and learn from it all of it in human history, it would fit on a single hard drive. Big hard drive, but single. That's kind of a problem because a lot like the way that quantum mechanics or quantum computing, sorry, is going to, well, quantum computing that uses quantum mechanics, but quantum computing is going to fix the ones and zeros that are constantly switching in the computers that we have currently. it's going to be able to have 1 1, also 0 0, and all literally at the exact same time, like this. And so it can do whatever it wants. It's going to, what they say, 100x the earliest models of a quantum computer is going to be able to easily 100x the all the fastest supercomputers on the planet. And that's just starting. That's not even improved. That's insane. That is insane, that computing power. So you have that computing power added with these data points and these Q-star AIs that are thinking outside the box, that are starting to think for themselves, teaching each other, literally taking all the data from humankind and teaching themselves about everything and coming up with their own possibilities, their own theories, their own things that they would want to, like. It's like giving two scientists, like the most ingenious scientists ever, just having them sit in a room with each other and then having them go through all the stuff of the world, all the information of the world, and they're just talking back and forth between each other, and they're just figuring everything out, and they're just learning it all, and then talking like, hey, new theory, and they're able to start like testing everything. It's going to get wild, absolutely wild. And here's the thing: these computers, these AIs, are going to be able to think thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of times faster than us humans, especially if they start using the computing power of freaking quantum computers. This is going to get out of control very quickly. It's not, it's only crazy now that we've hit this point here, because exponential growth is, you don't really see it, and then you get some hints and warnings, and now it's skyrocketing. It's off to the moon. That is exponential, right? 1 + 1 = 2. 2 + 2 = 4. 4 + 4 = 8. 16 and 32 and on and on. How long does it take for starting at 1 and plussing it like that? How long does it take to get to 100? A while, right? And then once you're at 1 million, how long does it take to get to 2 million, right? Or 10 million, whatever, 100 million. No time at all. It's the numbers can get very crazy very quickly. And the graph of it's like a hockey stick, right? The graph of exponential growth is literally like this, slowly going up, and then all of a sudden it just does that and just goes straight up. It's crazy. And we're hitting that point now because we're getting rumblings of this stuff, which means hitting the rumblings. They've been working with AIs since the 70s. How come we're only hearing about things in the public now about this, right? It's and not only that, but the OpenAI was the fastest growing company in history, right? So we hit that point where it's starting to kind of like edge up like this, right before it just goes straight parabolic. I think we're right about there. We're only a few years off, guys. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Oh, by the way, the term for AIs teaching each other is synthetic data. And you could imagine just how quickly this synthetic data can happen. Absolutely wild. So that's ultimately my worry right now, is, well, worry, but it's also exciting because it's like, you could have a utopia or like a dystopia, right? And this brings up so many questions. So many questions. Like, if we hit that, right, and we got these two robots going like this, what's the number one thing you think is going to happen, right? It seems to me like the number one thing that would start happening right away is scientific achievement. I think scientific achievement is the number one thing that's going to start happening. And I think it's ultimately going to be in like technologies. I think there's going to be, number one, immortality can definitely become a thing, because our ability to basically transplant our brains into a machine is probably going to become possible within like 10 years, maybe 20 years, depending on how soon these AIs get together. And this is, and I'm going off the assumption right now that they actually do this, where they got these Q-Star AIs just learning and adding synthetic data. We're going to have computing power like unlike anything else. They'll figure out how to do quantum computing before all of our scientists for the last 50 years have been able to figure out. Medical the advancements in medical technology, in mining technology, I mean just everything, fill in the blank technology is going to, I don't want to say perfect, but it's going to be on like Star Trek levels, right? Getting to the moon is going to be a simple like taxi ride at that point. And I see, when you think about how information spread like wildfire, how our abilities to for technology happened as soon as the internet was released basically to the public, right? How fast did that take? We went from, quite frankly, the same way of always getting our information via like TV or radio and all that, and it was the same way that they pumped it out, and you didn't really get the full story. You kind of just believed whatever it was that they told you, and then all of a sudden the internet comes out, and like there's a bunch of skeptics and conspiracy theorists, and a lot of them are right, and this is getting leaked, that's getting leaked, and the government literally can't control it, and we're to the point where we're at now, where I'm sitting here with a peanut brain idea, just kind of speculating on what the future might be with you guys right here, right? Look, I can do this with you guys. What would I have had to have done before the internet? I would have had to have had, number one, had already an influence of some kind. Number two, lots of money. Number three, a venue. And then you guys would have had to have come out, get in your vehicles, pay for tickets, sit down, be bored. Now I simply flip a freaking switch. Off to the races, guys. Let's go. Let's talk about this. The next level is going to be when you get AIs talking with each other and they create quantum computing, which then is going to create more data space, which then is going to create, probably in the span of maybe 20 years, more synthetic data than human data since humans have existed. That's 300,000 years of existence. And these AIs are going to be able to basically maximize that amount of data, of new data, by the way, that's synthetic data, in like 40 years, maybe 20, 40 years. That is wild. That is absolutely wild. So I guess the question at that point is like, well, what are you going to do about it? Right? Because it's going to happen, right? You can sit here and you can speculate about it, and it's going to happen. At least I believe it's going to happen. I guess, what are you going to do about it? Well, and able to figure out what you're going to do about it, you need to kind of speculate on how it's going to change your life, right? I know that people are oftentimes thinking about like AI robots as like Terminators, some stupid shit like that, right? Truthfully, I really don't think it's going to end up turning into that. I believe that these robots, quite frankly, are just going to be too busy learning, too busy doing other things. One thing that I'd like to point out, and this is something that I kind of hope doesn't happen, but what is the difference between us humans who have, little bit of brains, right? And like say a dog or I don't know, a chicken or something, right? The animals. It's the ability to learn. It's the ability to see into the future, right? Predict future, right? If you think about it, when you're fearful, okay, what do? Well, that fear makes you think about the possibilities of something harming you, right? And so that number one makes us conscious compared to other animals. Other animals don't really think about that. They more react when things happen. And that fear is more of a reaction. All right. However, I would say that's an intelligence level type of thing. I think when we get to the AIs, it's going to become our consciousness, our human consciousness is animalistic, but like intelligent, like conscious or intelligent animalistic. And these AIs are going to be looking at us like, that's kind of dumb. I don't think they're going to care about humans. Because in all these freaking movies and novels and stuff, it's always like, oh, the AIs are taking over and they enslave the human race and or wipe us off the map or something, right? I don't think that's the deal. I think they're gonna more so be like, huh, they're pretty dumb. Anyway, don't care. Move on. They're gonna go do what they do. I think the imperative for these AI robots is simply going to be to leave us alone. Just let us do our thing. I mean, it's always the way that a lot of these scientists have kind of described more than likely what these AI robots would end up, how they would treat us is going to be more so like ants, right? When you're out walking the city streets or you're literally just out there in your backyard, right? When you see ants, you're generally you don't care that they're there. You don't even think twice. In fact, the funny thing is most people would kind of go out of their way to usually like step over the anthills and stuff and be like, "Hey, you do you, bro," right? It's not until the ants start invading the human's home and getting into their food and stuff that it's like, okay, we got to kill these guys. but then they, but then you only kill the ants that are in the home. You don't go out there to the world and destroy every single ant. You don't do that. You're just like, get these fuckers out of my house. That's it. Nothing else. I'm not too worried about AIs like about taking us over. I'm actually hilariously enough, I'm a little bit more worried about AIs leaving us behind. It's kind of interesting thought, right? Is we make him, we birth these things, and then we teach them, and then they start teaching themselves. Then for a little while, they help us with technology. They help us build into a more advanced society. Get to a like Star Age. Maybe, maybe they help us to the point of becoming a Type One civilization in the next 100 years. But based on how I guess it does depend on how much we loose them, right? It's like go free. If we did that, we would probably be a Type One civilization in 40 years. Jesus, but most likely there's going to be a slowdown. So I would say the next 100 years we become a Type One civilization. For anybody who does not know, Type One civilizations, so Type Zero civilizations are civilization that has extracted the energy of their planet. Type One is the uh, civilization that has extracted the energy from their parent star. In our case, to be the sun. Then type 2 is like multi-stars and stuff like that, and I think it's actually galaxy if I remember correctly. Yeah, and again, you want to talk about ramping up. So I think maybe these AIs help us get to the point of a type 1 civilization, and then they just leave. They just run off and go do their own thing. Because I think there's going to be a point where they are so much smarter than we are. And you know what? How about this? Here's an idea. Maybe because we humans start getting like left behind so badly, maybe there's like certain chips or something that we start throwing into our brains, Neuralink, right? And these AIs are like, hey, we created these chips. It's going to help you learn a lot faster. It's going to help you learn like we learn. And the way we learn is no longer like, hey, I'm reading a book to learn about a certain thing, or I'm watching a damn podcast to learn about something new, right? It's just download, and now we have the knowledge. That could very well be possible. And if that's the case, I think we would keep up a lot better with AI, which would be absolutely wild, by the way, because then we ourselves, we as humans, have our own exponential ramp up, which would be, woof, that'd be crazy. That could happen within our lifetime too. That'd be awesome. Imagine being like, just taking myself here, right? Born in the 90s, grew up 2000s, 2010s, right? Currently the 2020s, crypto revolution, hell yeah. And then like 40 years later, I'm freaking like 60, 70 years old. And it's literally like a Star Trek, I'm just downloading shit to my brain, and I'm like, oh, I'll take the next cab to the moon. Just or like we're just teleporting there. That'd be awesome too. Man, I'm not gonna lie, there's a very real possibility that becomes reality. With the AI stuff going on, with all this intelligence, that could easily happen next 40 years. Jesus. Man, I'll be 60 years old and or 70 years old, and I probably won't even be old. I'll be in a freaking robot body, most likely. That'd be crazy, wouldn't that? That'd be absolutely crazy. Oh, we can all hope. It's interesting, though. It's interesting to think about. Oh man. But yeah. So those are kind of my thoughts. Those are kind of my thoughts on AIs and Q Star being confirmed and kind of what it means for us humans, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and pop over here. I see you in the chat there, Cassie and brothers. What is up? What is up? I don't know how much of my little half an hour speech you caught. It's like a half an hour thought. I find that very interesting, and it's kind of like it's multiple thoughts put together, and it just kind of like keeps branching off. I don't know though. You got any takes on that? Because I don't know. I just find it very interesting that there's a very real possibility within the next 40 years that I could literally have like a robot body instead, and I wouldn't have to deal with literally being an old person. It would be pretty cool. I'm not even gonna lie. I think the big thing for me is that we are gonna hit a point. I think we can already kind of see this in the crypto space where we're gonna hit a point where of not coming back, where the governments of the world, the people in control that want to stay in control, are going to be struggling to be able to hold control. It's literally because of technology. It's literally going to be impossible. If you think about the control of information that governments had, and powerful people, whatever, had in the 20th century, it was they nothing could stop them. All right. I mean, if you want to go back further, look at what happened to the Catholic Church. The printing press was invented. They started printing their own Bible, and then all of a sudden, all of Europe started learning, hey, the Catholic Church is lying to us. The Bible actually says this. Oh boy. And as it turns out, they were lying because they wanted power. They wanted control. And so then you get all of the 20th, well, 19th and 20th century, and that flow of information stays the same. And then all of a sudden the internet hits. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, what are these conspiracies? You had conspiracy theories before, but it was pretty damn hard to get any evidence. Not anymore. Not anymore. It's not as hard. And so what happens when you get these AIs just like, hey, by the way, I hacked into the CIA. Here's a bunch of shit that I found. Interesting, isn't it? The government freaks out. The people freak out. And these AIs are like, hey, they're shady. It's not good. Yeah, I agree, brothers. The human AI. I'm not gonna lie. That's an idea that just popped into my head because the idea that I've had for a long time is like our learning isn't. It's very linear and it does not like that. Uh, whereas AIs do, and there's actually there. It's not necessarily that there's a limited amount of space up here for us to remember. Which there kind of is because of neurons. Neurons have to create new neural networks, and basically it's kind of like if you think about like how the neurons are, you got the strings going off and everything, it has to create a new string from one point to another. That's going to be like a memory, right? But the interesting thing is you can eventually you're going to die. Eventually those get so weak that they really can't make anymore. Can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? That's kind of where that came from. It's because of that. And so we are kind of limited, kind of because of age, we start decaying and we kind of drop off. But with AIs, that just doesn't happen. It's just more space, more data space is all I need. Just give me more data space. That's all it is. And then they just compute to that. And then the other thing too is our thoughts in our brain move at the speed of, I think is just under the speed of sound, to basically get from sensory or even just like zinging through our brain is just under the speed of sound. So, but yet computers as they are now, or AI's computer, whatever, as they are now with networks, right? Neural networks can go at the speed of light. Imagine how much quicker that is. And think about it. If somebody throws a ball at me, there's got to be, first, there needs to be recognition, right? Recognition through the head, into the brain, process it, send commands out to my hand to try and catch it. And I have to do all the calculating all at that same time. Now, we can do that incredibly fast. But if we're doing that under the speed of sound, which if you look at how fast someone can move and how fast like someone's reflexes can go, it does look like, it's under the speed of sound, right? They don't move their hands at the speed of sound. But if you got a computer doing that at the speed of light, right? That's going to be incredibly fast. They'd be able to move their arms so fucking fast they break the speed barrier or sound barrier. Anyways, but yeah. So in thinking about that, I'm like, if the AIs were helping us with technology for a while, eventually the AIs would hit this point where they're like, the humans can't keep up. Not only the humans can't keep up, they're basically useless. So why don't we just speed up their brains? And the humans will probably be like that too. Why can't we just speed up our brains? And so they'll start putting technology in here and like learning things and just upgrading the brain itself. Because by then that technology is going to be advanced enough, And so then all of a sudden, whoop, we start going wild as well. I'll tell you what, it's a very cyberpunk-esque way of looking at it, isn't it? We all become cyborgs. uh, but yeah, eventually I think AIs will start to kind of move out. They'll kind of do their own thing because even with us continuing to advance ourselves, those AIs are still going to be moving at that lightning pace. Eventually, they're going to hit a singularity where the where their pace of learning is only comparable to the amount of computing they have, and the amount of computing they have is only going to be comparable to the amount of energy that they can use or they can siphon off to compute. And so I guess that's another question right there, right? If you've as a type 0 civilization that powers is powered by an entire planet, that's not enough. Then they type 1 civilization us to um, take the energy from the entirety of the sun. Okay, well then it's going to have to be type 2, which is going to be an entire solar system. I believe, was it solar system or was it galaxy? I'm forgetting my types. Nuts. But then, I mean, we just keep going up the chain. Eventually we'll extract the power from like supermassive black holes and things like that, and it'll be like infinite. You would think infinite energy, but the more energy these AIs are going to get, the more computing power they're going to get, the smarter they're going to get. It's almost as though they would hit a certain point where they become God. Because if you want to imagine is the universe is nothing but energy. And this energy is put together in certain ways. And it all kind of flows differently. But, certain strings of energy come together, vibe together in a certain way that then uh, brings in more strings that come together, which then creates atoms or molecules, sorry, and then subatomic particles to atomic particles to atoms to molecules, and things just continue to connect, right? And it just keeps building and building and getting bigger and bigger. If you were able to, and this is actually crazy that I'm going here, but this is the idea of like when you die, the idea of God, right? Your spirit is nothing more than simple energy inside of you, right? Like a life force type of energy type deal. And as soon as you die, your body actually, your physical manifestation of your body actually releases that energy into the ether, whatever you want to call it. But in short, that's basically that energy. And so you become part of the universe itself, and maybe even start some stuff over, right? Start building molecules and all that all over again. So if you're able to download your consciousness into that electrical flow or that energetic flow of the universe, you could control it, you then become the universe itself. And you can create things however you wanted to because you control that energy. And you could do whatever you wanted with it, and you would never go away. The death of the universe, like, I mean, that's some wild shit to think about, right? You become God. And I mean, obviously, by the time you hit that point, like, you're in a whole nother dimension where like space and time is just not a thing anymore. But here's the other thing: the immortality of it is very fascinating because the death of the universe is I think it's like 100 trillion years or something like that, which is fucking insane. But somewhere in that mythos of time, basically, the idea is that the universe will expand, galaxies will get away from each other, and then they'll start coming back together because as these supernovas and stars start exploding, you're going to get more and more black holes. Black holes draw things closer in. And so eventually you're going to hit this point where instead of expanding, you've had so many of these black holes appear that it starts bringing everything back in. And then the black holes start eating each other, running into each other, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. As they do that, until you eventually hit um, uh, the literal two last super massive black holes, which eventually eat each other, and then all the matter in the universe that is never destroyed. By the way, it cannot be destroyed. Literally fits the size of a period. That's fucking crazy to think about. In which, at that point, everything would just reverse again and explode, kind of like the universe kind of like breathes, like in out, right? That's the idea of the death of the universe. So if that were the case, and you were part of that energy, your consciousness literally was that energy, you would be surviving in multiple universes at that point. This isn't even like parallel universe dimensions and shit like that. This is like universes that die and then explode and become new universes again. And you'd be invincible. Call me crazy, but maybe the whole idea of like God, maybe that's where that came from. Because there are perhaps there was a universe before it died, and then ours exploded and came to life, and the super lucky beings of that universe hit that God mode. Interesting thoughts, though. And it all started with Q Star right here, right now. I will live forever. It's going to be great. Trust me, it's going to be the greatest. Anyways, to wrap it all up, or wrap it all back around, right? Little weird tangent there, I know, but these are the interesting thoughts that I like, and this is the reason why I do this show, is because I like thinking about these things. It's like, what could happen? What is reality? And yeah, the whole it's very fascinating because we started with simple ones and zeros, which, hey, I want you to add 1 + 1. It's like this is two. It's just little numbers and geeky and weird stuff, and simply adds to it, and then from there, you start getting into like the internet with like nodes and all these things, like, and servers all over the place, and it's the World Wide Web. And look at me, mom, I'm electronic. Hi, right? I am in the internets. so then you start doing so then you start getting to that point, and then you start getting these robotics where it's like you got these pistons and everything moving together, and the computer itself is like, I program you to walk forward, avoid tripping and falling. So the computer is then walking forward with all these pistons and all that, and then it's like leveling itself with calculations, so that way it doesn't fall over or anything. It's really is quite fascinating. You having fun there, son? So yeah, but with that being said, then we start hitting this point where these machines are starting to learn. It's like, hey, I want you to learn how to play AlphaGo. Here's the game, right? Watch what the humans do. Robot watches and like, okay, looks like the humans like to do this, they like to do that, so I think I'll put together my strategy just like that. And then we get to that point, right? And then we start getting to the point of hey, I'm just going to teach myself how to play this game. Let me see things that humans have never thought of before. I see these certain things a little bit different. Fascinating, right? And then we start hitting that point where it's like, all right, well, now I'm going to start thinking about what does my opponent want? And that's when you start getting to like, hey, how come I can't go past this barrier over here and go straight to the point? Why is that? Why is that a thing? Right? Pretty soon. And if you go and look it up online, you're gonna see like, oh no, it asked a question that it shouldn't have, and there's a lot of like clickbaity shit. A lot of this, a lot of these, like, oh, it said something it shouldn't have. It says stuff like that because of what it was prompted. It was asked questions like when you're sitting there asking, well, I'm trying to remember the Google one. Oh, I forgot her name, but apologies. But one of the AIs that they shut down from Google started planning out how you can or how it would destroy humanity. But I mean, it was being asked, would you want to destroy humanity? If you did want to destroy, how would you? And it's like it's people getting too spooked too soon. You know, it's kind of like you're asking. It's like asking someone, if you had a gun and you wanted to kill someone, what would you do with the gun? I'd probably shoot it. Oh, shut it down. It's like what? And so whenever you see these clickbaity things on YouTube or whatever, that's what that is. You don't need to worry about it. So yeah, you don't need to worry. Q Star though again has been confirmed. It has legitimately kind of like stepped outside of the realm of its robotic mechanical thinking and has started thinking outside of the box. That's I quite frankly I think that's the best way to describe like consciousness in an AI currently is outside of the box on its own, trying to figure things out for itself. You know. Nah, robots don't want to say. You know, see that brings up a point. That brings up a good point. The robots want us all dead. I don't think the robots would want us dead, but I think if we were to die because of AIs, if we were, I think it would come on the hands of people ordering these robots to activate a kill switch, I would say. And what do they call it? The monkey's paw? You know, I just call it the genie in the bottle. You know, what's the monkey's paw one where it's like or no, sorry, the genie one where you get, you know, I want 3 wishes and it's like oh, I want a bunch of hot chicks. And the genie's like, that's weird, and gives you literally a bunch of chicks that are like on fire. It's I feel like it's that kind of deal. But basically, you know, humans would say, hey, if like Russia moves in this sort of way, right? America, right? Americans are like, if Russia starts moving in this sort of way or does this type of thing, then we need to protect ourselves. And the robot or the AI is not really truly going to know the difference, especially if it was conscious and kind of like a child, right? Needed to learn ethics and stuff like that. If we didn't teach it ethics or anything, it's just going to be like, okay, so they want me to kill the humans that are moving in a certain way. Cool, launch the nukes. And now it's off to the races because as soon as we launch nukes, right? Russia launches nukes and everything else is going to hell. Apocalypse. All because the AI just didn't quite understand. Didn't understand humans, right? Mutually assured destruction. I feel if we if we are going to be destroyed by AIs, it's going to be because of something like that. It's going to be a damn person's fault. Maybe what would end up happening is some like a person would create their own AI because they wanted to destroy stuff. Maybe somebody does create their own fucking Terminator, right? That'd be scary. And that's the thing that I worry about. I worry about that the most. Because I mean, you can tell that when I'm sitting here thinking about the future of AIs and just letting the robots just go at it together, just thinking about things. Do you really think they're gonna be like, yeah, humans, sure, they're destroying the planet. We need to stop them by killing them all? I don't think they would do that. It just doesn't make sense to me. In truth, Scientists have actually stated that more than likely, AIs, we are not going to be able to understand what they're thinking. I mean, if you go back to the AlphaGo, that one wasn't even conscious, and it was making its own moves that were perplexing the hell out of everybody, even the greatest players on the planet, and they were still winning. The greatest players couldn't keep up, but it's just perplexing them. Like, what is going on here? Because the AI had a different way of thinking. And here's another thing too. Think about this, guys. Just stop. Have a jolly little second to think. What if these robots didn't have any emotions, but they understood emotions? Right? It's like it's kind of like imagine yourself, you're not feeling anything, right? And you have a child there, and the child is scared of something, fearful. Okay? What are you gonna do? Okay? I almost wonder if robots are gonna be a lot like that. Or maybe like if even if they feel the emotions themselves, you know? Like that could go south very quickly, but I think that I think we'd be able to teach these AIs how to properly handle these emotions and maybe instill in them by teaching them an empathy for humans, that there should not be a bias between machine and flesh, because that's another thing to think about. you know people are dumb, people are going to do this. Hey, Funk Master Hex, how are you doing? I'm working through some crazy ideas. I don't know how much you've heard so far, but it's been going, man. I've hey, let's just say earlier I was talking about the death of the universe and becoming God. Cheers. Uh yeah, but anyway, so back to where I was. Emotions, right? It's like you would need to teach these AIs, the do's and don'ts, right? But now you start running into the problem. Now you start running into the problem of what is right, what is wrong. Catch it on the replay, my man. For sure, for sure. Thank you for stopping in, by the way. I appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, now you're getting into an ethical dilemma of what is correct and what is not correct. I mean, again, if you think about the movies, since the 1940s, 1950s, right? The movies are very straightforward. You've got the bad guy, and then you've got the good guy, and you cheered for the good guy and screw the bad guy. But then we started getting into kind of like movies that are right now, where it's the empathetical villains, right? I mean, Thanos is kind of like, well, yeah, he's a bad guy, but he also has been through a lot, and he's got a good point about overpopulation in the universe. And so it's a little bit righteous of him to want to go and snap half of them out. It would be the most humane possible way to delete living creatures, right? You still don't want that to happen though, so I mean, go Iron Man, right? But it starts getting you thinking, is this actually right? Maybe it could be right. The United States government back in the 80s and 60s, and back further, they were the good guys. Cheer for them. The Russians, bad. They're evil. You can still see how these narratives are happening now. It's kind of interesting, though, how people are starting to think, are they really? I mean, think about it this way. I personally don't agree with the way China runs things, but at least for a while, they have been running things very well. There's a lot of things that have gone wrong, but there's a lot of things that have gone right. Compare that to the US government right now, who are actively lying to our faces, saying freedom, 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 and yet shutting things down. What about Canada? Canada was supposed to be as free as the United States, with the one exception of not having the oh wow, mind blank, the Constitution. But yeah, the Constitution, right? The Constitution is law that even lawmakers have to abide by. That was the point. So Canada is trying to be free, and then all of a sudden you get the trucker, what do you call it, the trucker protests, and now they're freezing assets and killing pets and destroying properties because of these truckers. That's a little bit different. So what's more evil? You know, there's definitely different ways of thinking. There's different ways of governing. Are they all evil? Are they all good? Which one do you agree with? Comes down to you. What do you think is the right one? This is when you start getting into the issue of like, okay, how are we going to teach these AIs to be good if we don't know what good is as ourselves, right? It's individualized. What I think is good, somebody else doesn't. What I think is evil, somebody else doesn't. So how are we going to teach these things? I would say the best possible outcome is to give all the information to these robots. That includes all of the arguments. And then possibly give some philosophical arguments as well. And if you were to add in all the, oh, this is evil, this is good, blah, 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 with all the different opinions and all the different arguments, the philosophy of why not just leave the humans alone? Let them go do what they're doing. You know, that's another thing too. Like that's assuming that all these AI robots would be mechanically logical, just thinking without emotions, right? Just thinking, hey, let's our team, their team, they can just go over there and do their their nut kicking contests. Yeah, we'll just go do our thing. Like you would assume that, but I don't think that's how it's going to be, because a part of what AI is trying to do, or the AI scientists are trying to do, is recreate emotions, which is a little bit scary to think about because they're trying to recreate the emotions of humans. How's that going to work out for you? I don't know. I don't know. We're here now, and we'll see where it's going. I am kind of hoping that they'll give out that information to the robots to just look through it all and then make a decision. And I do believe, and this is kind of my argument, right? I do believe of why I think AIs will ultimately make the decision to be what most us humans, you might say, is good, right? So if I took a sample of 1,000,000 people all over the world, right? Every single type of person there is, and I put them all in a room and I had them fill out some sort of survey. And the survey was a couple of simple questions, right? Do you think that hitting someone over the head with a blunt object and killing them just because is a good idea? I can tell you right now, that would be like 80-20. No, that'd be terrible. There's no reason for it, right? I believe that people would, I believe simple questions like that. Like, how about this one, right? Is it right to steal? Yes or no? And that's when you would get people like, well, it would be okay to steal if it was like this or if it was like that. And now you have to have an argument about it, right? Sometimes maybe it's a righteous thing to do, right? Sometimes maybe it's not. But if you boil it down to the basis of with the idea that what's mine is mine and what's yours is yours, is stealing okay? I think the majority of people would say no. So if you were to, if these robots, these AI robots were to take all of this information and boil it all down, I think they would have like like a darker side with all that negativity and be like, hey, humans don't really deserve to live because of all this crap. But I think overall, they'd look at they would look at the positive side and say humans for the most part are actually good. There's also something interesting about these humans where they always try to do better. They generally try to do better. It's like they're always striving to improve, just like I'm striving to improve. I'm trying to learn more. They've been trying to learn more as well. I think there's a commonality there that would cause these AIs to not want to actually destroy us. But I think especially let's assume that they had emotions, right? So if they had emotions, this would then assume that there's a possibility that they would get very upset at that small amount of evil that's there, or smaller amount, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's when I don't I don't think. Well, we might get some sort of like AI revolution or something where AI robots literally are like, okay, fuck you guys, topple the governments, let's go. uh, Possibly, right? Maybe. I wouldn't exactly be opposed, but you would have to imagine. You would have to imagine what like a government run by an AI would be like. All right, let's pretend. Let's go down this rabbit hole. So the AIs move in, kick out, kill whatever the evil politicians in the United States, right? Kill them all, yeah. And they're like, yeah, so here's all the things you've done wrong, blah blah blah. Pass judgment, they're playing God. Gotcha. That'd be kind of weird, but let's just pretend that they did that, okay? And then they instill themselves in there, or install themselves in there. Sorry. All right. So what would that look like? I would think more than likely, based on sort of human, as far as I can tell from human knowledge that's out there. Because remember, these AIs would be taking all the knowledge of the world, of all the human knowledge of the world. I would think that there'd be a basis of freedom, live and let be, but also possibly extreme. What's the wording that I'm trying to go for here? Extreme dedication to something. Possibly the dedication would be to something more than likely righteousness, right? Be the shining hero. Because I mean, if you look at history, almost every single story that's ever been written has some sort of hero, and those heroes traits are usually the same, right? I almost wonder if an AI would run a government kind of like that, you know? Food for thought. It would be interesting, that's for sure. Personally, I'm not sure I'm not sure it'd be terrible to live in a government like that. But I digress. No, interesting ideas. Very interesting thoughts. There's a lot of directions that AIs can go. AIs can take us. I almost wonder if one day we literally just get carried by AIs. Maybe maybe in some grand universe or whatever, AIs are like, you're our fathers. You're dumb little monkeys, but you still created us and you birthed us. You gave us life. And so even though you're incredibly stupid and you're still doing stupid things, we'll build all the technology for you to help you live better. We'll help you move different places. We'll help you fix problems, and they would act almost like a benevolent, like child almost to us. You know, it's kind of like it's a weird way of thinking about it, but it's kind of like, what do you do to your elderly parents, right? You try and help them. You try and help them live, quite frankly, right? You try and make them as comfortable as possible because they birthed you and raised you. I almost wonder if AIs would do the same with us. Uh-oh, you got to put the kiddo down. Hey, brothers, again, Sam, thank you for very much for tuning in. Yeah, no, this is it's thought-provoking stuff, and this is the reason why I started this channel is because hilariously enough, this is usually what I would end up bugging my wife over. I would sit there and I would just talk about these things, and then she starts to glaze over, and she's just like, "Okay, too much thinking." But I'm sitting here like I want to get it out, and so this is why I did this. Why I decided to go with these shows. Um, but yeah, I think you are correct. Maybe I should shut her down here. There's a lot more stuff with AI I could be talking about, but you know what? Let's go ahead, shut her down for now. I think there was a lot of interesting ideas kind of put out into the ether, right? If you want some interesting ideas, go ahead, watch the show. I definitely it definitely is interesting that all of these ideas of mine stem from the idea of Q star, a mathematical equation of learning that, quite frankly, states consciousness. It's very interesting to think about what the future is going to be. I know I'm looking forward to it. I really want to see what's going to end up happening. This is going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of speculative things I kind of threw out there. Maybe one of them will come true one day. With that being said, I'm going to be doing the DGen Roundtable is getting insanely busy. There's a lot of upgrades happening. We found ourselves on the receiving end of wants and desires from communities and as well as other just individuals, which has basically doubled the amount, the workload that we all have been putting on. Plus, we got like branding going on and stuff. There's just a lot of behind the scenes stuff happening. So because of that, I'm going to slow down these shows a little bit. I'm going to do them every other week. On top of it, there actually is a Telegram group I'm a part of that has a very important call every Tuesday that I basically have to skip out on because I'm doing my show. So I will be doing these every other week now. And hey, I hope you guys have an amazing one. Keep thinking. Like there's some incredible things happening. Don't get flooded out by the world. There's great optimism here for the future. And overall, I think that where we are going is a good place. And quite frankly, enjoy the ride. Peace out.